So Ashish, exactly when did you get the idea of writing a book? Is it before, when you were in ISRO only, you thought like I'm going to write a book, or after leaving ISRO at some point of time you...
That's a question I have an exact answer for, but what's your name?
Srinidhi.
Srinidhi?
Srinidhi.
Srinidhi. Okay. NIDHI, right?
Yes.
Okay, Srinidhi. So when I got the idea of writing a book, I remember that moment very distinctively, and I even remember the date, and I remember the time, and it was 18th of August. So it is a day after my ISRO interview, and at that time I had already reached Mumbai. So if you don't know, at that time I was posted in Mumbai in Department of Atomic Energy. My interview was in Chennai. So on 17th of August I gave my interview. On 18th of August morning I caught my flight from Chennai International Airport to Mumbai, and at that time my training was going on in a place called Alibag. Anybody heard the name? Alibag is like 3 hours away from road, but it is only 1 hour away from ferry or boat, you can say. And it's kind of a island kind of place, or it's not really an island, it's part of the mainland, but there's like a sea route to it. And the reason I was over there is because I was in heavy water board, and my training was going on in understanding heavy water production. So this is like an irony, and it's mentioned in the book as well, where BARC has a fictional reflection of SCAR, that is Science Center of Atomic Research. Who thinks over here that SCAR is a cooler name than BARC? BARC is like a dog barks or a tree bark, right? But SCAR is a scar, right? It gives a scar to your life. So over and the boy who did not sign leaves a scar on scar as well. So you'll find out more about that. So I was at that time located at Alibag. So I said that it is closer, like it is just 1 hour away if you take a ferry. But like I said, it was August. And over there, they do not run ferry in August. They start from September 1st, most likely, because of the rainy weather. In the rainy weather, they are not going to do that. So that is why I had to catch a bus, a red bus. And in the local terms, those red buses are called Lal Dibba. That much Hindi everybody knows over here, right? So I was on that bus, and I was at the worst seat of that bus. First of all, this is a government bus, so no seats have any leather, and don't get caught by any of the metal ends because they're all rusted. So you understand the kind of bus that I'm talking about. But even in this bus, which is kind of the worst bus, doesn't get any worse than that, I am at the worst seat. What is the worst seat of a bus? Anybody who is not from okay, very nice. Because I was thinking that there are two worst seats. Number one, on the engine, right? On the engine. Anybody sat on the engine? Because you're going to get a lot of thermal energy over there. Yeah? Girls might not have the unfortunate scenario of being over there, but boys, how many of you guys have been that? Raise your hand. I want to know. No? You got from royal families or what? Okay. Oh yeah. Maybe they're like more civilized over here, right? Don't make people sit on internal combustion engines. So I was on the last seat, which is the worst seat, and that's the first disappointment, right? You're at the last seat, but you're kind of happy that you don't have to wait for the next bus. So I'm at that bus, and even in the last seat, what would be the last position? The kind of not center, but you don't get the leg room, so it will be center where you have a seat in front of you, because the window would be the best one. At least you get continuous supply of wind energy. So I was at that seat where I'm having like long legs crushed against the seat in front, and I thought, like, how am I going to spend 3 hours? And I thought that, well, so many interview experiences helped me crack these big interviews. I was able to crack BARC interview, then IT Bombay interview, and then now I was sure that I'm going to crack ISRO interview that very day. So I was like, okay, that helped me too. So how about like contribute to the community and share my experience as well? Because my experience of ISRO interview was particularly different. My ISRO interview, lasted so long. I've not heard anyone's ISRO interview last that long. My ISRO interview lasted somewhere around 50 minutes, which is unheard of. Now also you go through the interview experiences on Quora and all, you won't see any ISRO interview lasting for more than 20 minutes. So I thought that this is a very unique kind of interview. Just take a seat, be comfortable. A unique kind of experience, so might as well share it. And I started writing it. But that's where I discovered like I have a taste for sharing it in the form of experience. So I just did not want it to write, this was the question, this was my answer, this was the next question, this was my answer. If you ever read the ISRO interview experience that I've written back in 2018, anybody? It went pretty popular, like for a small scale.
You went right on Quora.
Yeah, Quora, that's what I'm talking about.
One line I remember that you said, I dropped the nuke.
Oh, did I write it over there? Because I've written that in the book as well. Oh yeah, when I said I was a black belt in Shotokan Karate, I think that's where I dropped the nuke. So yeah, so that was like you won't see interview experiences with like this much description, right? So I was writing it, but even when I was writing, I had an inclination of how about share more, how about share from the morning, because that morning was terrifying. Obviously the nerves were off the roof and I was so scared. It was a bad situation. People still don't know how bad the situation was, and you are not going to find out until you start reading the book that it was a do and die situation again. And I was like, if I don't make this interview, I do not know how my career is going to look like. I'm definitely going to leave. I'm going to need to leave Department of Atomic Energy. I do not know how I'm going to sustain. So this is like the best you can get versus kind of garbage that you can walk out with. And even when I walked inside the Pallavaram guest house of Sri Harikota where the interview was organized, I was terrified. But I wanted to share that because that's not just me. It's not that other people appearing for ISRO interviews are joyous and they're celebrating and they're very happy and they're calm all at the same time. They're all terrified. Obviously, this is like a life-changing event, and how you perform over here decides where your life proceeds. And so I was terrified. I wanted other people to know that I was terrified too. I wanted them to know how I control my nerves. And so I wanted to share those experiences, and I write a little bit of, okay, this is how I was feeling. And even if you remember properly, I wrote about what I was wearing, my uniform, my attire, I mean tie and all. These are things and why I would put that on. I even mentioned in that interview experience why I made eye contact with all the interviewers, if you ever read that. So these are not just an interview experience. These are like telling you a short story, right? You can make like a short film of 30 minutes out of that. So while writing that, I thought that it would be even more interesting if I even showed them how my written test was, because even in my written test of ISRO, I was terrified that I'm not going to make it because I had already failed 2 times in the same written test. So I was like, I want to share that as well. I thought that the whole experience of being in BARC training school was something else as well. So how about I share that? And that's when I understood that I have a story. So all of this happened on a single day, in that single bus, in that terrible last seat. So every catastrophe is an opportunity. And maybe if I would be sitting in the best seat of the bus, the idea would have never come. And maybe that book would have been never written. So that's how I came to writing a book. I guess that answers your question, right? I had a perfect answer for that because I know exactly how and when. In India, or whose mother tongue is not English or is Hindi. Right? Now, nobody in India has a mother tongue of English, most likely, other than those people who have never sat in the last seat, right? They have mother tongue as English.